Right. And then shortly, I will be sharing my screen and we'll be going through how Materio can help you organize your projects, get these details, lined up, ready to go, and ready for design and handoff. So I'm excited to share that with you for those that haven't seen this already. Um, we'll let people come in. If you have questions as I'm going through things, just drop them in the chat and I will be sure to get back around to answering them if I haven't covered them already. And we will check back in occasionally as we're going through the system to see how that looks. We've got a gloomy day here in Nashville. It's a little bit of a thunderstorm, so I hope everyone else's weather is nice and sunny and summery where they are. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And then we're going to walk through getting started on a project. And so as you probably have seen in our, however you heard about Materio, whether it was through a friend or marketing, that our system is really visual. And so your project in Materio is going to be based around a visual. That could be a floor plan, that could be elevations, that could be mood boards or concept boards. It could be a combination of all of those things and usually is. And so you have the ability to bring in floor plans. Again, you can bring in elevations, and then you can also create boards or bring in boards from other systems here. And so this allows you to create one visual place for all of your team, for your clients, around what they see on a project. Now, before we jump into starting a scope of work on the project, I just wanted to note that there are a few things that you can do with the floor plans and organizing those and making sure that your team does stay up to date and everything is easy to find. So the first thing is that you'll notice I do have versions here. So this is version 1. I can click on that and view previous versions. So as I get a new version of this main floor plan, instead of deleting this and re-adding it, I'm going to make sure that I'm replacing it. Even if there's markers on it, I'm going to replace it. The markers are going to stay in place, and then I'm going to have the most updated versions. Now, of course, if you're doing dramatic layout changes, you'll need to adjust some of your markers, but this is going to make it so that your team knows which version is there. And again, if you ever need to bring it back, you can. The other thing I wanted to note is that you can come in and use this little eye icon to hide plans or pages from your client. So if you didn't want your client to see lots of construction documentation, or you're just not ready to publish it to them yet, you could always turn that off. And then second, you can also come in and create what we call a stack, and you can drag floor plans into stacks. You can also easily come in, click them, and just drag them out and take them out of the stack. So that's a really great way to combine things. And see, I have a new stack and I can rename that if I wanted to. So I might call this design boards or something. If I'm creating a bunch of boards, I could do that. So this is a great way to organize your project, especially when it comes to the visuals and what you want your team to see and what you want your clients to see. It's really, really great for that. All right, so now we're going to get rid of these stacks here, and we're going to go through starting a project in Materio. And also one thing you can do is rearrange these. So I actually want the main floor to come first. All right, so now I'm going to get started with outlining a project in Materio. So I'm going to use our scope starter, and this is a great way for me to think about what is there. It's going to give me some of these defaults. Let's say we're doing all of these. Maybe we're also doing a pool as a location. Maybe where we want to do a study. We want to do maybe we have office as a default here. We could do that. Maybe we have like a back foyer, things like that. So a foyer. So this is going to help me with some of the default locations. Now you can type these in as you wish. You can also always rename these later. But what this is going to do is help you think about the selections that go into it. So using our defaults can be really useful. And also we know projects are bespoke. These things are all customized. So you're going to be entering your own descriptions as well. Now you'll see that I can set a budget for each of these locations. Now this is not mandatory, but it might help you think about what goes into each room. And oftentimes our designers that use the platform really like to think about the budget per room. And this makes it a lot easier to adjust. Now I'm going to change my project budget total. And when I start this project at the very beginning, which I didn't show today, you're able to set an entire project budget. And then of course, you notice I can adjust that here as well. So you can go through doing this if you want to. You don't have to, and you can also always set this up later. But this is just going to help you really wrap your your head around what it's going to cost for each room. And then as you start to source things and get things underway, this is going to be a really great way for you to estimate. All right, do this really quick. And there we go. And you'll see that there is this everywhere else, and that's just the remaining project budget, which you can eventually use or kind of act as a contingency. And it also might help you realize, hey, maybe we have more than we think, or maybe some of these rooms I could add a little bit more to. All right, and then the next thing you're going to do is start to outline the categories of work that are in your project. Again, we are truly trying to help you organize this project and plan it from the very beginning. And this is critical for thinking about what's to come on the project and how you can manage this effectively. So I'm going to do design services. If you're doing design build, you might be doing things like these general requirements, plans, permits, cleanup, all that. Again, each of these items or chips that you select, those are going to show up as items in your scope of work. And again, you can always customize these later. I'm going to focus on design today. So we're going to do some of these electrical fixtures, plumbing. Now you'll notice because I selected the defaults, kitchen, primary bath, etc., I am asked to populate some of the defaults for those locations. So it's going to help me outline those selections really quickly. And now I'm going to go through tile. We're going to do all of these. I'm going to do some, we're not going to do that one. Flooring. Maybe we want to think about all the trim that's going to be here. Paint and stain. Maybe we want to do wallpaper, cabinetry, countertops. And so this is, again, just me doing some sort of basics. A lot of you are going to be doing larger projects. This is going to be a system for helping you manage 2,000, 3,000 plus square feet houses. You know, we have customers using anything from custom RV designs or Airstream designs all the way to 20,000 square foot houses or spaces in our system. So it really can help you organize any scale of project, but it's going to be really good for helping you get to those really large projects and making sure you're checking the boxes on everything that is needed. And now when you're setting up a project, this is a project level setting, we're going to decide how we're making money on this project. So most of our designers are going to be including some kind of markup on their items. And then separately, they'll probably be estimating hours or adding a project fee. But this is going to be on each item. Do I want to include a markup? Or do I want to choose to do a project level fee? So this is going to be used oftentimes for designers who are doing a percentage fee or design build who are doing a kind of profit overhead fee on top. And so now I'm going to talk about which, or decide, am I wholesale? Am I typically buying wholesale? My answer is yes. And am I charging sales tax to my client? And again, this is just to help you get set up financially. And there's a little bit of setup at the beginning, but it's going to flow throughout the project from here on out. So now that I have my project set up, you'll see that I have the scope of work over here on the left. And you'll see I have these categories. I'll stack them up so you can kind of see them here as well. And so this gives me the ability to look at this project from a category level. I can also always switch and look at this by a location level. And this is going to help me see where I'm at in my budget and the breakdown of all the items in those locations. So let's just say that I want to go back to my category level, and I want to start by estimating my design services. So there's a few ways you can do this. And I also want to show you this because this is a great illustration of how you can add items, any item to the project. Maybe I call this, designer fee. I can do that. I could do a flat rate. So I could say this is going to be $15,000. Because this is a service item, I'm going to remove those defaults there. I could also say, I could say design hours, and I could do, let's say it's going to be 100 hours. And I can come down and select hours, and I can put in my hourly rate. Or I could say, design, let's see. So I'm going to do actually design percentage. So I'm going to come down at the bottom here. And this is where you'd be able to add in an actual fee if you wanted to. Maybe I call it design fee, and I do a 20% fee. So I can save that. And as I start to outline the scope of work, all of my products, I can have that design fee at the bottom. So those are just a few ways that you can set up a design fee in Materio. Now, I should note that you can track your time in Materio. So as I'm working on this project, let's say that I'm doing the conceptual design on this. Actually, let's say I'm doing estimating. I can start the timer and I can start working and tracking my time in the system. I can, of course, do manual entry as well. But if you know you're going to be working on something for a while and you're in the system, go ahead and turn that timer on. All right, so now we're going to talk about how you can mark the plans and how you really connect this scope of work to the plans so that as things evolve, you know exactly what's happening. And it's really great for handing off to the field team or anyone because you use that floor plan as navigation. So we're going to come in and add some locations here as an example. Let's start with the living room and the kitchen. We're going to drag these items in. So the chandeliers for the living room, we're going to have some pendants in the kitchen, maybe sconces in the living room. And you can always come in and add um, you know, items here. So I might add under cabinet light, and I might want to enable this as a selection so that I can put product on it. So one thing to note is that in your material scope of work over here, you'll notice that a lot of these have a little question mark status, and that's because these need selection. So as I am building out the scope of work, if I'm enabling it as a selection, it is going to show up over here in my selections workspace, which is really my design workspace that tells me what needs to be designed, what needs to be sourced, approved, etc. So first I'm going to start off by marking these on the floor plan. So I'm going to click the quantity and I'm going to do mark plans. And this is where I might say, okay, I actually want to have 3 pendants here. And you'll notice that when I put these markers on the plans, it's estimating the quantity for me over here on the left. And then I can say, all right, the budget for my cost is $500. And then I've got my markup and my client tax. I may also want to use some of our other cost components like shipping. And I may want to change the fact that I charge a markup or client tax on that. So I can always edit my defaults. Let's say shipping, I want to charge 20%, but I'm not charging tax. Delivery, I want to charge 20% and I'm not charging tax. And then labor, I am charging a 20% markup, and I'm also not charging tax. And I want to update all of my existing items. And then from here on out, it will have that default on those. All right, so then I can again come in, mark the plans. These are all the same types of markers. We're just gonna use the dot markers for things like lights, and it's going to save them, and I'm gonna put in my estimated price. Now, the other thing I really wanna show you is if we're talking about getting specific and using our takeoff tools or our plan markers, one thing that's really great is looking at square footage. So let's say I know that I want this tile to be a $12 cost. Again, I'm gonna include some delivery for that. So I already got my defaults there. Then I can click this quantity and mark the plans. And I'm just going to drag it over this area right here. And there you'll see it's calculating the square feet for me, and it's calculating the price. So very quickly, I know that it's going to cost my client $1,000 to get the tile in this bathroom as long as we can stick to the budget that I want. Now I can also go through and mark the plans with the linear tool. What this will allow me to do is to do things like walls. So I can do around the shower here. I can press enter, and then I would enter in the height of the walls plus any waist that I want. And so again, it's going to really quickly give me an estimated price for the shower walls. So the tools that not only are they takeoff tools, they're connected to the scope of work, enabling you to know exactly how much things are going to be, how much it's going to cost. And from here on out, then you can move to doing the sourcing. And there's no questions about what can we afford, what is it going to take. It's all right here. And this makes handing it off to GCs or subcontractors incredibly easy because it's so clearly spelled out. All right, so now I have put these items on here. I won't go into the depths of, well, I guess I should note that you can do kind of absurd shapes with the polygon tool. This would be if you wanted to, let's say, do a shape like this, pretty self-explanatory, but you're able to kind of do odd shapes. You can click these, drag these around, etc. So that would be the polygon tool. All right, so now that I'm actually ready to start to add products, I'm going to head over to my selections workspace, and this is where I'm going to start to choose what am I going to pull into this product. Now we have a few ways of getting products into the system. We have our Chrome extension, Clipper, and that makes it really great for pulling from websites. You can also come in and add things manually, and then you can even use our link grabber. So what I'm going to do here is click plus and you pull from library. And when I do that, because I'm in the tile section, it's going to pull me into tile. Anything that I've recently clipped is going to show up as new for 24 hours. And then I'm going to go in and select maybe the options. Maybe I want to do this one and this one. So I'm going to choose these two as options. Then same thing, I'm going to pull these in. Maybe I want to do this one. Maybe I want to do this one. So I can pull in different product options super easily, and this is going to allow me to get really organized about what it is that I want to put on this project. This is going to also give me a framework for junior designers, design assistants, project managers to have, they have a framework they can just fall into. It gives them exactly what needs to be done. It's very clear what is outstanding. And then it's very clear that these things haven't been shared with the clients yet, right? They're ready to send and we need to get them over. So I'm actually going to jump to a project that has a lot more information on it so we can kind of see what that looks like. And then we'll go from there. All right, so let's just say I've already got this living room ready. We've got some furniture here that we want to send over to our client for approval. You'll notice again that when I do that, it says you've got 8 selections ready to send. And I'm actually going to stop my timer and come back to this project that I'm on. Oops, clicked the wrong one. I'm going to do source. All right, so I'm going to go and I'm going to send this over. If you're missing prices on certain things, it's going to let you know. So you might not want to send those over. You can filter down by location or category, and then I can send these over. Now, if you don't have a client on your project already at this point, then you would want to make sure you invite them to the project. And so you would do that. And when you're inviting a client to the project, you do have a lot of capabilities around what you want to show them and kind of what their default collaboration settings are. So I would take a look at that. We have separate videos that can go into that. Most of the defaults, or the defaults are going to be that you're not sharing, sensitive information with them. You're not allowing them to see timelines. You're not allowing them to see any kind of detailed pricing or anything like that, and that they have this kind of standard ability to communicate with you in the system. So I'm going to send that over, and now I can select my client and send the selections over. So now that I've sent them over, they have moved out of this workspace and they are in this awaiting approval workspace. So my client is going to get an email. It's going to say, Chow Studios has requested that you approve these things, and they're going to come right to the system in their account, in their portal that is super easy to use. Now, if you're curious about what your client sees, there are a few ways that you can do this. If you've already invited them, you can view as the client, and it will take you into their view. So this is what they're going to see. If you haven't invited your client yet and you're curious to know what they might see, if you invite them to the project, you can go to the share button and then preview what a client sees, decide the settings that you would share with your client, and then preview it in that way. So it's definitely flexible in how you can view and how you can see what your client might see. But just so you know, clients love Materio. They get in there all the time and they love to look at their projects and approve things. It's super simple and doesn't really take any instruction to get them on board. So that's a great part of our system. So once a client has received these, they're going to be in this place. I can come in on the firm side. Let's just say I'm going to come in and make some approvals. You can do this from your end if you're offering a more concierge service, but ideally you're going to be sending this over to your client. They're going to be logging in and taking a look and making decisions. So I'm just going to make a few for them. And just to note, as your clients are going in and making decisions, they're going to be able to see the other approved selections down here at the bottom in that room, which will help give them some context into maybe which ones they'd like to pick. Again, I'm viewing this from the firm, so I'm seeing a lot of information here, like my cost and my markup. But if I view this as my client, let's just do that. And I come in and look, you're going to see that I do see the budget, but I'm not seeing anything like markup or breakdown, etc. So I'm just going to do that. They can decline it. They can discuss this with you. So if they may have questions or want to give you a reason for declining it, they can have conversations here with you. And so that's really helpful for communicating back and forth exactly where it matters most. And then as these things are approved, they're going to be moved into this confirmed workspace. And this is where we're going to get into procurement, more project management, what happens after these products are approved, items are ready to go, we need to order them, we need to invoice, etc. So you can come to the confirmed workspace as a place to look for details. You can also view it in this table format. If you need to see in this view, you can kind of go through the statuses very easily here. So first things first, we've got some things approved. What we're going to do now is make sure that we've collected a deposit or payment on those products before we place an order. So I'm going to head over to my finances tab and I'm going to click billing. And this is where I'm going to come in and collect a new deposit. Now I'm actually going to start with showing you how to collect a retainer, because oftentimes you guys are going to be doing that first at the beginning. So we'll start with a retainer and then we'll collect a deposit on our product. So first things first, add a retainer item is super easy. You just might want to say, okay, this is my design retainer. And this may be just to initiate the services with you at the beginning of the project. And this range, this amount can range drastically. We'll title this the design retainer, and we will save that. So I'm going to go over and just apply payment, where we'll say, let me send it to them first. We'll come in and we'll say that we received a payment for this. You could say that this was a check, etc. If you're connected to Stripe, you can get paid online, and all of this is going to be done automatically for you. But I'm going to save that payment here. And now you'll see that I have $10,000 of retainer available. And so this is a great breakdown here of what's the project balance, what's their invoicing progress, etc. And it's really clear to see. It's also there for the clients to see as well. So now I'm going to go in and I'm actually going to collect a deposit on the items that I have approved. So I'm going to filter down by selected. And let's just say I'll do all of these for now. So I'm going to go to next, and then I can actually say, all right, I just want to collect 50% deposit on these items. You can always customize this amount if you want to, but we make it really easy to have the slider up here on the left, top left, that allows you to kind of decide what you're going to collect or not. And then you can also choose if you want to request the tax on these items now, or if you want to save that later. So that's a discussion you might want to have with your accountant about, deferring your revenue and your sales tax. But when you collect a deposit in Materio and it pushes it to QuickBooks, if you're connected, that is not going to report the revenue. That is going to be counted as a deposit. So I'm going to send this over. And when I do that, what it's going to do is earmark these products with payment. You can eventually use this deposit money somewhere else if you need to, but what this is going to do is allow you to kind of count on those funds and keep that money set aside for these products. So we're going to say this was paid and save the payment. So now when I head back over to my selections workspace and I look at my confirmed workspace here, you'll notice that I have some partially paid items. And so if you're the one in charge of procurement and actually sending the orders, you want to make sure that you're looking out for that the item is partially paid or at least paid when you're going to send the purchase orders. Now, of course, that can be a process determined by your firm, but just so you know, I would keep an eye out for those items. So now I'm going to come in and you'll notice that in the purchase orders workspace, the purchase orders are going to be auto drafted based on vendor. And so as things are approved, they're actually going to show up here under that vendor. You'll see some things have multiple items, some things only have one item. And so we're going to keep track of that for you. If you'd like to change the PO document prefix, you can come up here. I clicked right here and I can change that if I wanted to call it maybe the name of the project, something like that, or a specific number. So I can come in, and now there are two ways that you can track an order or send an order to a vendor in Materio. The first way to record a purchase order is to record an order that you've already placed. So I've gone online, I have placed an order for this, and I'm ready to track that I paid for that. Now, one thing you'll note here when I go to record this specific item is that this is an unpaid item, and that there are also two other items from this vendor that are out for approval and have not been approved yet. So Materio is going to do its job in ensuring that I am prepared, knowing that I might not want to place this order yet because there are some things outstanding. So I might not do that one yet. Now I'm going to record an order for this. Now this also has a lot of items. So we're going to go ahead and uncheck the one that's not paid, do the two that are paid, and go ahead and record the order. So this is where I could come in and upload a receipt here. And then it's going to give me a side-by-side of that receipt or that acknowledgement. I'm going to be able to look at it and say, okay, this is exactly what I paid. I can come over here and edit the cost that I paid. Maybe I only paid $2,000 for this. Maybe I negotiated down on this one. Maybe, which changes my subtotal, and et cetera. Maybe I paid less for shipping than I was expecting. Maybe I ended up having to pay tax, et cetera. All of those things are editable here. And this is just going to allow me to make sure that I am matching those exactly so that when I track that expense, it is accurate. Now I can also come in and choose things like when is it expected to ship? And then, of course, I want to make sure that I've added a payment to it. You can also note if you had to pay any sort of transaction fees and optionally attach a separate receipt. This is really useful if you've confirmed it, but you haven't paid yet. So just make sure that you take that step when you're confirming it. And then you'll notice it's going to throw these updates on my timeline as well as automatically update them to ordered. So I'm going to confirm this. So now it's going to move over to confirmed and fully paid because I fully paid that one. And this is where if you're connected to QuickBooks Online, this is a really key moment because when it's confirmed or when it's fully paid, that is when the purchase order is going to sync over to QuickBooks. And then also, if it's landed in the fully paid column or confirmed with partial payments, those bill payments are also going to sync over to QuickBooks Online with the receipts. And so that's going to keep your accounting seamless, easy to keep up with. All of the information from your project management system, Materio, is going to push over to QuickBooks. And so that can be really, really helpful, especially if you're running a lot of projects. Everything is going to be done automatically. Their credit card or payment reconciliation is going to be there. And so that's really, really helpful. Now, the second thing I wanted to go through is how you actually send an order to a vendor. So I can go and send this to a trade vendor. I'm going to have that contact in my contact list. If I don't already have that, of course, I can add it right here. And then I'm going to hit next. It's going to pull up a preview of the email that my vendor is going to get. I can decide where do I want it to ship. Am I going to ship it to my project address, my company address? Maybe I have other receiver contacts in the system. I could do that. I could decide, do I want to provide any memos or special instructions? And then those memos and instructions are going to be attached to the PDF that's also on the email. And then your email message is just letting them know if you have any specific instructions, maybe introducing them to this way of doing POs the first time you send it over. That's going to be here. So I'm going to send this over. And when I do, it's going to be put into this sent column. And I can always open this back up and get a shareable link, copy it, and I will show you what they see. So they're going to see this way to submit the invoice or the acknowledgement back to you. They're going to be able to let you know what the total is, expected ship date, etc. They'll also be able to click up here and view this PDF. And this PDF that is generated from Materio is also the one that's going to go onto the email when they send it to you, or when you send it to them through Materio automatically. And so they're going to have reference for this as well in case they don't, accept just an email. And then when I head back over here, this is, let's say they responded to the purchase order, automated email, and they send you an invoice. You can come in and add that here as well. Same workflow as the other. You're going to be tracking payments on this. I didn't mention this before, but if you are connected to QuickBooks, your payment methods can be available here for you. And again, that's going to help that auto reconciliation of transactions in the system. So you would just save payments and upload your invoice here and all of that, and then confirm it. And so again, move it over to fully paid, and you can do partial payments, and that's going to keep it in confirmed and help you go through the payment process. One other thing I should note on procurement, if you're doing procurement across the entire organization, because that's your role, you can always come over here to the procurement tab and you can view all of the purchase orders in one place. So that can be, really helpful if that's your kind of domain. All right, so we go back to this project. We have a few more minutes. I just wanted to touch on what happens after you send that purchase order. So I've sent that purchase order, it's confirmed. Now, if I go back over here, you'll notice that these are automatically updated to ordered. So that's really helpful when you're doing batch orders. It's going to update all those items. And then I'm going to come in and start to manage if it was tracked. I would say, all right, this has shipped. Enter in tracking information, enter in the carrier, any kind of notes that might be applicable, put that on my timeline, and you'll notice that it's going to show up over here on my timeline with my project. So that's just really helpful for connecting the pieces when it comes to project management and making sure it's going from sourced, ordered, all the way onto the timeline and beyond. Now, I did want to talk about the activity feed. Oftentimes, as we are working on projects, we might have updates that we want to send to our clients. So from our mobile app, you can add in notes and pictures. You can also do that here. So maybe I want to add in a few pictures. The mobile app is actually a little bit faster. You can do multiple photos at once. You can take them on the job site or upload them. And this is where I might want to put in meeting notes. And so I can save those, and it's going to add notes to my timeline, I mean, to my activity. And this is also going to be activity that has just generally happened on the project. An invoice was sent, comments were made, this thing happened on the timeline. And so I can come in and actually send a report to my client that is generated by the system. So I'm going to click prepare report, and then I will generate that here. You'll notice that my logo shows up. It's nice and branded. Progress photos and notes are going to show up. I can also decide if I want to show notes, if I want to show recent activity, if I want to show upcoming work, if I've got the timeline on there. So this gives you a lot of flexibility around what you can send your client. It's a great way to get them a progress report that kind of showcases what's been happening on the project, what's been changing, what's been going on, and it's going to make you look really great as a team to just be super organized. We encourage you to send these on a weekly basis, just to keep your clients in the loop. And then also you can separately send this to collaborators on the project. So it doesn't have to be a client, it could be other team members, it could be your boss if you're sort of running a project and you're the project manager, and you want to send them sort of a weekly summary. It can really be used for anyone who's on the project. And so this is a really, really helpful way to get those progress reports out. All right, so we are running short on time here, and I think we've covered a lot of the system. I do want to mention that there are a lot of things we didn't get to. We didn't get to go over, the mood boards or creating inspiration. So we might want to look at that really quick. And we didn't really go in depth about the design library. So there's a few of the design elements that we didn't cover in today's demo, which I would love to share resources on. If any of you watching this need more information about specific areas of the project or of the system, you can email us at hello@materio.co, and we'd be happy to go over that with you, or send a specialized video on that. But I'm going to go through and see if I can find one that has some boards on it. Yeah, so here's a board that was created in Materio. So we didn't get to go over this in depth, but in Materio, you can now go to create a board. And this will allow you to upload photos, create sort of an inspiration or concept board. And separately, you can actually come in and pull in your products from locations, and you'll see this links to an actual item in Materio. So I can now create product boards with actual products by location. And so this is really helpful when you are creating boards to kind of get sign off from your clients, or you want to communicate a vision to them using the products that you're actually sourcing. So that's really helpful, and just communicating, and we're excited to have that recently launched in the system. All right, that is a demo of the system. Of course, we kind of touched high level. We went over the basics of things. Again, if you have questions or you want to learn more, we would love to talk to you. You can email us at hello@materio.co. We're happy to send over resources, send over extra videos, have a chat. And we're excited to have you considering Materio as a tool. We hope that your future is organized. Have a great day, everyone.